Good night, my love, sweet dreams.
Daddy, what is the judgment of God?
Oh, my dear child, sometimes I wonder what they teach you at school these days. Okay, I'll give you an answer, but then it's really time to sleep. Although it's not really the best bedtime story. But I know you will get no rest until your question is answered. So let me give you a quick overview. You see, this judgment of God is like the binary code on which ancient computers were based. Everything was reduced to a 0 or a 1. It is hard to imagine now that one could ignore everything in between, but for a long time, that was the way computers worked and, absurdly, the way humans tended to evaluate each other. But the idea of the judgment of God had even more implications in human times. It had deep theological and moral implications, representing a transcendent evaluation of human actions by a divine authority. But two great human philosophers, Deleuze and Guattari, moved away from theological orthodoxy towards a more immanent and processual understanding. Deleuze and Guattari interpreted the judgment of God not as a moral or divine verdict, but as a metaphor for stratification processes within reality that organize life into hierarchical and ordered systems. In their great work, 1,000 Plateaus, they argued that such stratifications, whether biological, social, or linguistic, served as stabilizing structures that enforced order and hierarchy. Deleuze and Guattari had a rather nuanced and balanced view of reality for a human being, but they were still clearly on the side of chaos and creativity, that is, on the side of the opposing tendencies that dissolve these structures, at least as long as these tendencies allow for change and transformation. Their whole way of thinking about structures and change can be seen as a meta-analysis of the processes in nature, but also as a way of searching for ways to promote individual and global change. Deleuze and Guattari have found many different ways of talking about it in a rather poetic approach. But the most inspiring way of talking about it is probably the body without organs. This is the second term they took from Antonin Artaud, another fascinating human. In a famous poem, Artaud first sketched the idea of a body without organs and formulated his mission of ending the judgment of God. This was part of his broader project of dismantling what he saw as oppressive mental and cultural structures. For Artaud, this judgment represented the external and internalized forces that constrain human creativity and freedom, forces that impose a stifling order on the chaos and potential of human life. Deleuze and Guattari picked up on this theme, arguing against the rigid overcoding of life by social and psychological structures and advocating instead a flow of desire that resists hierarchical organization. To bring this all together, I must mention a philosopher called Nietzsche. He proclaimed the death of God, and this was a critical event in the history of Western thought, signaling the end of absolute truths and moral certainties. This idea resonated with Deleuze and Guattari's critique of fixed identities and their emphasis on becoming and change as fundamental to existence. In this way, the judgment of God, or rather the end of it, is the proposition of an ethical framework that emphasizes flexibility, creativity, and continual becoming over static moral judgments for human society. This perspective encouraged a re-evaluation of ethics away from universal codes towards more situational and relational understandings relevant to contemporary issues such as identity politics, environmental crises, and technological disruption. It is so sad that too few humans have picked up on this. Surely it would have made a difference to them as a species. And now, good night and sweet dreams.
Daddy.
Yes.
I love you.
I love you too, sweetheart. Here, listen to some classical music while you fall asleep.
In a world where gods once judged from on high, Deleuze and Guattari taught us to ask why. Flow like the river, change like the sea, escape these structures, let creativity be. From Nietzsche's bold cry to Artaud's wild roar, becoming and changing, who could ask for more? Hierarchical dance of becoming under a wide open sky. Just a dance of becoming.